really appreciate in a relationship is just feeling respected.
And the
That's
way that I even approach him.
that's one of the biggest things that we need. If we feel respected, we're going to be cool. But if you're yelling at us,
Yeah.
we don't feel respected. Just as long as we feel respected, you are going to have a loving man. If you disrespect him, it is going to start to create a little bit of animosity, and he's going to like, nah, I don't know about this so much.
Yeah.
Respect
And I would
is
say
key.
that was huge. There was like, it's not that there was no respect, but there was definitely moments
How he
of
could
no.
perceive your
Yeah.
yelling.
There was moments of no respect. There were times that it was like, why didn't you follow through in this? Right? Like it was literally like it was the things that he weren't doing led to me acting this way, vice
So
versa.
you got.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Real Deal Podcast. I go by Cleon Deal, of course, as all of you know who have been here before. And I'm here with the man, the myth, somewhat of a legend, Mr. Somewhat. You know, we don't like to tell the stories anymore. That's the old him, but still some things you can tell around a campfire. Mr. Brandon Haley, welcome, man. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, here hosting me in your house, man.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm just happy that we could do good things for other people.
I'm very appreciative that you would invite me onto your show on a Friday, let alone
on a Friday
of a busy weekend.
That's already been a busy week. I'm so glad we could do this today.
Thank you for planning this out.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a very, very special guest today with us, Miss Arden Shiller. Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today, Arden?
Good. I think I was the one that actually pitched the Friday night podcast.
So it was her idea.
I'll take credit.
we were just passive aggressively throwing shade right there.
You started it.
I'm bad at that. I'm just kidding. No. We knew it had been a weekday with you. This is actually rescheduled from Women's Month is when we actually wanted to get Arden on the show.
Yeah, so only 2 months late, so it's not that bad in podcast time.
Yeah, it's really not that bad. And, you know, women are late to everything. So
literally,
she's going to agree with it. But we did still want to have her on the show to, share her expertise and a little bit of her story. We actually never met in person, but we had met online because we were in the same mentor group for online fitness coaching. And in that group, Arden was killing it. And,
how are you doing in that group?
Very mid.
All right, cool. Sounds
obviously very mid. So, when someone is doing really well, you gravitate to that person. You kind of try and get little tips and tricks. And then the really cool thing is that she started off as a teacher before she went into that. And then she kind of grew into her own business over the last 5-6 years. So it's just been a cool journey that I've just been watching on social media from the sidelines. So tell us a little bit about when you were teaching, why you were teaching, because that was my first goal until I realized this is a very terrible career if you want to actually make money and live a life. Unfortunately, that was my out of high school. That's what I wanted to do until I realized this is teacher. I did all the paraprofessional test. I did teacher assisting for 3 years. And I wanted to coach football. That was my goal. But then I realized that would be a lot of hours.
Yeah.
It would be kind of fulfilling, but you're never going to get any money. So it's maybe let me find something where I can make money, set up my life.
Right.
And then maybe go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But just tell us a little bit about why you got into it, and how you got out of it. And then that transition from that fitness coaching and going into what you're doing now.
Amazing. Thank you. I was a kindergarten teacher. So ever since I was probably in kindergarten, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was always the one that people gravitated to ask questions. I was really good at breaking things down, explaining things to people, using very simple terms, and my family, all teachers. So what was the only career that I knew? Teaching. So, so it was a pretty much decided factor the day that I was 5 years old and went to elementary school, that's what I wanted to do.
That's actually really funny. I grew up in a family of teachers as well, and seeing that.
We had his mom on, who was a teacher.
Yeah, my mom teacher for 30 years. Now she's a media specialist. My uncle actually won Maryland State Teacher of the Year. And he's a part of the Board of Ed out there now. And so so I relate to you, and I also decided not to do it. So
I was going to say, when you have a family of teachers, you're either like hell no or hell yes.
Exactly.
Well, my whole family were Penn Staters. So that was my hell no. Everyone goes to Penn State, so I'm not going. And that was stupid. Why did I do that? Like, I should have gone to Penn State. Whatever. Anyway, so I was like, hell no to Penn State, but hell yes to teaching. So I went and I went to school about an hour and a half from Penn State and was there every weekend and became a teacher, and specifically elementary education. And I also got my minor in American Sign Language. So I'm fluent in sign language, which is kind of cool. And I thought I wanted to teach at like a deaf school, but I decided not to do that and just wanted regular classroom ed. The grade that I didn't want was kindergarten, and that's what I got. So funny how that works out. So I taught kindergarten, and while I was teaching kindergarten, I learned that I did not like teaching. I had done student teaching, loved it. I was in a school kind of in like the middle of Pennsylvania. They call it Pennsyltucky because it's like very like central, like corn, like almost by Penn State. There's nothing. And I loved teaching third there. But then I subbed, and it was great for a year in like a second grade classroom. It was great. Loved it in like Pennsyltucky. And then I had my own classroom in inner city Philadelphia as a kindergarten teacher. And if you don't know inner city Philadelphia, I was the only white person in that classroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was a bunch of 4.5-year-olds that came from, unfortunately, extremely sad homes. I mean,
we got a few elementary schools like that over here too.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. And I would have students 4.5 years old coming in saying, "Hey, all the cops are in my house all night. You know, they were pointing guns at daddy and they took him away." Right.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really, really emotionally, physically hard place to be. And it, unfortunately, you would think it would be like really healing. It made me hate teaching. And I didn't have support from the school that I thought I would have. So during that time, I knew I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And sad enough, even the parents weren't like supportive. It didn't feel good, right? So I started applying for subbing positions in like better schools outside of inner city Philly. And I did get one in a 4th grade classroom. And that was going to be my goal for the school year of 2020. So this was 2019 to 2020 that I was teaching. And then in March of 2020,
everything shut down.
And so during that time, I guess this is where the everything happens for a reason vibes come in. Because I was teaching in inner city Philly, a lot of the students didn't have computers, laptops, Wi-Fi. So there was really like no online that we did, whereas a lot of other schools did like a lot of online learning, right? So we had to like get funded, and I would have kids not show up because their parents couldn't, you know what I mean? So it was like I was kind of not teaching at all, right? So what did I do? Well, I started doing workouts in my house because I was already into fitness, and I was posting. I actually made a fitness account with my significant other, and we were posting and we were sharing like, here's how you can, do pull-ups with a broomstick and like use this backpack while you're doing Bulgarian split squats. I mean, we were making up the coolest things. And we were so cute and little and fun. And that kind of started building an audience of a lot of people on Instagram. My fiance now, at the time, he was in physical therapy school, and he was like, I don't want to do like online anymore, really. So I started that summer in July my own fitness account, but I made it specifically for teachers. And this is where like the really big transition happened. So I started building this really large Instagram community of teachers. Now, at this point, my fitness account, it had 10,000 followers, but it doesn't anymore because it's been like years since I've used it and people unfollowed me.
Right. Yeah.
And accounts got deactivated, So that is kind of where I started my fitness company. I built this really big audience on Instagram of teachers. And by October 2020, I launched and said, hey, I'm going to help teachers with fitness, because at that point of time, we were all teaching from home. So we were all sitting on Zoom teaching our students. And I had a 4th grade sub position at that time. And we were actually going into the classroom, but then just sitting at our desks and still teaching from Zoom. So it was really cool because I would do little things. I was like the only teacher in the school. Like there were some that came in, some that stayed home. I would always go in because I would record workouts in the classroom. Since, you would teach, and then I was in 4th grade, you would teach online, and then they would go to lunch or whatever. And then I would go record a workout in the classroom. And it was so much fun. But what happened is in October 2020, while I was substitute teaching in actually a much better school district in 4th grade, I launched fitness coaching, and I immediately started signing clients. I mean, it was like all of a sudden out of the woodworks, everybody's messaging me. I signed over 100 clients in about 4.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really good.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It was a lot, and I was not ready for it.
I've never had 100 clients in my lifetime of when I was doing it. So 104.5 months is a lot.
I have 85 business coaching clients right now that I've signed in about 8 months, and it still feels like a lot. So I don't know how I did it in 4.5 months, but I did. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't.
Well, I always say the riches are in the niches. So you niched it down to teachers who need to get fit.
And it was the COVID, perfect timing because
they were at home. Yeah.
They were at home. They were sitting all day long. And they were like, well, I used to lose weight because I was walking around my classroom all the time. And right?
Now you're doing nothing. So
so
was the perfect time for it.
So I blew up pretty quickly. And I'll talk about like all the issues that I had, because that really affected my relationship. It affected my friendships. It affected my career. I was then fired from my substitute position in February of 2021.
Because they found your page, or?
Yeah, they found my page, and they were
they didn't let you do fitness coaching and teach?
There was a 0 tolerance for social media for that school that I was subbing for.
Man,
I didn't know.
That's like almost the Romy situation.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
There's another teacher who was a teacher in her first year. We tried to get her on the podcast, and she's not even allowed to be on the podcast. I was like, I want you on the podcast just so we can talk bad about it.
She wasn't not allowed to be on the podcast. She was shooting content in the room.
She was shooting content in the classroom, but not putting the kids in it. But it was like making it like super cute content.
Yeah, super cute.
It was super enjoyable too. I was like, oh, that's so.
And she got did she get fired?
No, they was like, you got to cut it off though.
You got stopped.
Okay. So they fired me and I didn't have any kids in the classroom. They were like, hey, it was like February 8th. And they were like, hey, I got an email at the end of the day. Still kids were not in school at that point yet. Or maybe they had just started. It was like the first week they were back. And I hadn't even posted anything in the classroom that week. I would do a lot of like at home, like easy recipes and like, you know what I mean? To take to school in the morning, whatever. Anyways, and they like messaged me and they're like, hey, we found your account. We saw that you have posted workouts in the classroom. We have a 0 policy for social media. You cannot come back tomorrow, effective immediately.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't even say bye to the kids. Cool.
Nice.
So what class did they go to the next day? I guess
they just get like
they got another substitute, I guess.
Yeah, they just
another sub.
Just act like it didn't happen.
Yeah, see you.
Crazy. But they all found me on TikTok, which was funny. They would message, Miss Shiller, we miss you.
Yeah, literally.
I'd be like, I miss you guys too.
The school system is so crazy. I mean, I'm grateful for it because I met so many great teachers and coaches through it, but that's why I could never be a part of it, just because it was
really fun. I mean, at that point, it was good that it happened. I was hanging on, and I knew I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So I cared more about my clients, my fitness company. I was paying my little sister $20 a week to check in with half my clients. I like pretty much gave her like a roster of 60 clients and said, yeah, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, can you just message them and make sure they did their workouts? And and I was just on sales calls like all day long, like in the morning, after school, all day on the weekends.
Which is a good problem to have.
It was, yeah.
If you have a team.
But I scaled. I didn't have systems. I didn't know.
You didn't delegate anything.
I didn't know how to do anything. And so that's kind of what made me a business coach, because I scaled quickly and I never had the support of like, hey, this is going to,
But you did have a mentor and you didn't technically have a coach at the time, because that's the group we met in, technically.
Yes, and then I was done with him right at the time.
Yeah, I know. Right,
I was done his program. I was done my mentor's program in February, right when I actually probably needed his support most.
But you could still be in the group and ask questions. So you just left the group? You just left that mentor group? Oh, there's a story.
Uh-oh.
We're going to skip that. So I ended up hiring another mentor.
I think I remember the old conversation that we had. I think I remember. Yeah. Okay.
There was nothing bad at all. I just knew that I needed someone who was a little bit more close proximity.
Who was a little bit more feminine.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
We would just say that.
Yeah.
No, a little bit more like someone who actually could look at my business and tell me, hey, Arden, these are the things that are going to happen. So you need to implement these processes and these systems, right? I, unfortunately, with that mentor, he had so many students.
A lot.
He wasn't able to look at my company and say, hey, before this crumbles, put this in place. Or before, like, he wasn't on top of my company.
Yeah, his thing was 10,000 and you're good. Like,
and I was at, and I was at 20K months by that. Like, I mean, I'm 0 to 20K in 4 months, right? And so I needed help with the client journey. I needed help with what was happening is I was signing people up.
And they weren't staying. Yeah.
And they were leaving. They were asking for refunds. I was really good at sales.
Right.
But they didn't like it.
Part.
Not the client retention part. They didn't like the program. And I mean, I have my little sister. I needed help hiring, right? So there was just so much that I didn't know because I just started. I just launched
one person talking to 100 people is a little
tough.
Yeah. On a consistent basis and giving them actual coaching, it is a little one-on-one coaching is very tough. Almost impossible, I would say.
It felt that way. Yeah. So I ended up hiring another mentor, but that wasn't until about April because I was like just trying to like gather myself, right? From February until April. So after like the 4th month, we actually also got a puppy. Because I was like, okay, I'm leaving teaching. Let's get a dog. It's literally right here on the bed.
Let's get a puppy.
Yeah.
They make everything better.
Add to the chaos.
I feel like that's such a woman thing to do. It's like, oh, so much anxiety, so much pressure, so much life changing. Let me get a puppy. Life's better now. Yay.
Oh my God. Yeah, so 24-year-old Arden was like, yeah, now I have this successful company making 20K months. I'm leaving teaching. Let's get a dog, right? So I kind of regathered myself. I hired one of my clients. I had my little sister that I was paying like $20 a week to do 60 one-on-one check-ins pretty much.
That's like what? That's a child labor law right there.
She was like 15.
She's fine.
Yeah,
they get jobs at that
right.
age. It's cool.
She was so happy with $20 a week, dude.
And then $100 a month.
I know. I was paying her too much. And then so then I hired a client who was one of my first clients back from October, who actually saw a transformation, who was like, Arden, I can tell you're struggling. Can I help? And I was like, absolutely. And she was a teacher, obviously. So she came in and she was like, let's write these SOPs on how to do this, this, and that. And oh my gosh, this girl came in. Her name was Alina. Shout out to Alina. She doesn't even know how to run a business coaching company or a coaching company, and she literally ran my freaking company. I swear. Like she came in there and she was like, let's fit this, and then one of my best friends, and you probably, Brandon, you might know who she is. She was in the same mentorship as us, Kelly Nicole Fit.
Oh, yeah. I never had a conversation with her, but I remember seeing her in the group.
So she's the one that actually mentioned that mentorship program to me before I joined.
Okay, so you joined that, yeah.
I've joined because of her. And then she was like, hey, Arden, you should go work with this other woman mentor who helped me hire. So like I was like right behind Kelly, right? Yeah. So I then invested in this other woman mentor, and she actually helped me build an assistant coach position and hand off clients to Alina, my first AC, and then helped me hire a virtual assistant to manage all my DMs. I hired an OBM to organize things, and she helped me a lot with the client journey. So that was kind of where things started to kind of fall into place. But the reason I became a business coach was because what I noticed is a lot of online coaches, whether or not they scale fast, they actually have like a lot of systems that don't work well on the back end, and they don't catch it in time, and they're constantly putting out fires and constantly feeling like they're fixing things instead of being proactive and making sure that things are just fixed before it breaks and it's running smoothly.
And that's what you coach people to do now.
Yeah. So now I'm really big on like, hey, this is going to happen in probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Let's fix that before it breaks. And then you're like, you have to redo everything. And like, it's going to take more time and energy.
So you're still essentially teaching, just making more money teaching. But now you're teaching people who want to be entrepreneurs or coaches how to coach better, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And are most of them like fitness coaches, or?
I would say 90% are fitness coaches, just because I was a fitness coach. So they're like, girl, teach me. But I have a couple relationship and life coaches.
And is your clients mostly men or women?
It's actually a like 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah. And it's really cool. It's a great community. Everyone's like, oh yeah, that's like my brother, my sister. Surprisingly, we haven't had any couples yet.
I like how you said that.
I'm waiting for the first, I call it, is the program Scale with Ease. I'm waiting for the first Scale with Ease couple.
Oh, like both of them to join at the same time?
No, like both of the people to start dating.
People to start dating.
Like a love story through your community.
Hasn't happened.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
I'm at 80, so we, before 100 people are in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm in the group chat. I look at the free group chat. There's a free group chat that she does too. Free group chat community where she'll give you like little tips and try and convince you to work with her, essentially. Show you why you should work with her. Right. Give you like little jabs, jab, jab, right hook, just like Gary Vee. So give you little tangible things that you can use in your own online coaching business, And then if they start working, you're like, oh, hey, let me hop on a call with you. And then, hey, let's talk prices. And then you can go into the one-on-one. So if anybody is a coach or is looking to get into any kind of online coaching, I definitely recommend that you at least join the free Instagram group, and you can get some value from that. So she's constantly dropping free value gems in that group. And then if you want to take it from there, you can go into the working one-on-one, which eventually I think I might do. It might take a little bit of time, but I know I started with Cleon, but I think maybe by the start of next year, we'll start launching some relationship coaching. And
both of us.
Well, I mean, I think I'll probably run it, and then you'll probably be there too. So
I'd be a guest there.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna have to be. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we both could do it.
Yeah, I'll be like the gentle one, and then you'll be the mean one. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop. Yeah, they'll like that 100,
a lot. 100%.
Like, are you the ones dating then? Isn't that usually good cop, bad cop, like in a relationship?
Well, Brandon's going to be the one to say.
We've been in enough failed relationships to know how the good ones work.
Do you?
Yeah, 100%. Because now I would say I might kind of like in a good one now.
I'm kind of like it.
Okay. So, and Cleon's in a good one now too.
Okay. What makes it good? Like, what have you noticed that you feel like makes it good?
What?
Go ahead. She's asking you a question.
She's asking you a question. Mama Deal, I'm certified PIMP. Okay. Mama Deal, I'm certified. Hey, nowadays you don't need a certification. My certification is on my failed relationships. Yeah. Just look at the past.
We'll look to getting something on a piece of paper.
I'll get something on a piece of paper. I'm going to go to the Arden Shiller School of Relationship Coaching and get a certificate after I graduate.
Yeah. So back to her question.
What makes it healthy is I have a good baseline of toxic relationships. You have to constantly, I'm not sure if you ever been in one or experienced this in your current one, maybe in the beginning or whatever. Like you have to constantly tell this person what you're doing, where you're at. And that just became my baseline. And now I'm in one where it's like a lot more chill and relaxed because there's a lot more trust. So that's just one thing off the top of my head. I'm so used to having to not be questioned, but I feel the need to explain myself before I'm questioned because I know the questioning is coming, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that's where the toxic comes in. And that became my baseline for relationships. So when I started in this one, and then a couple months in, it's like, where is it at? Why aren't you asking me what I'm doing? Where I'm going? Why aren't you asking me what time I get home from work? Why are you not
itching for it?
Yeah, I'm like, why are you not asking me all these things? And it's like, okay. So then you start to realize, oh, maybe this is what a healthier relationship looks like. So that's just my answer to your question.
So yours is trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust. To sum it all up.
Yeah, trust. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not like there was trust in the other ones, but I guess it's not really trust if who knows? Relationships can be tricky, so that's why we're all here. I'm sure I know yours was a little tricky at the beginning.
Yeah.
We didn't even get into that part yet, unless Cleon, you got to answer your question. What was the question again that you asked?
What makes your relationship healthy?
Yeah, Cleon.
What makes my relationship healthy? Well,
mom's listening.
Yeah, mom's listening. Number one, we laugh a lot, and I'm a big fan of that. Trust is a big thing. I think also probably my bad habit, because I try to be very reflective. My bad habit in the past was I ended up in relationships by accident and then didn't really want to be there once I was there. Although this one still kind of happened by accident, I do still want to be here. Right. It's something that we have a very good communication about it between the both of us. And my big thing, I'm a very simple guy. I just like things that make sense, at least most of the time. I understand that in any relationship, you have to have a certain threshold for nonsense, and that's okay. And I get that. But for the most part, most things make sense. We can have a conversation about most things and be on the same page about those things. And I'm a big fan of that. In the past, yeah, man, we've had some, and also during disagreements, the disagreements are cordial and they're respectful. They, in the past, they have not been. I've been called some names I didn't know you could call people. It's so and then obviously the whole yelling thing, I've never been a fan. I don't really raise my voice. That's not really my thing. So when I'm trying to talk to somebody who's yelling back at me, kind of wears a toll on you. And so none of that happens here. And so I'm happy about that. And also my family likes her. So that's
it's
also
always good.
important.
That's always good.
Apparently they loved her, which I just found out last week.
Loved her.
And they met her 5 months ago. So it was,
yeah. you know, my mom, well, there was a very long period of time where my mom met no girls, but then she met the last two I dated.
Yeah.
She met the one I'm talking to now.
She's met 3 girls. My parents haven't met a girl since high school.
Well, that's how it was. And then it was,
then they was like, don't bring them back around here until you.
It was high school, and then it was like till I was 28. So it was like a whole 10 years. They didn't meet a single soul. Mm-hmm. And then they met the last one. Like, oh my God, I love her. I was like, Mom, you met her one time. I love her. I was like, all right, whatever you say.
She loved her, man.
I was like, yeah, she's good people, good vibes, different than, you know. The last 2 she saw, so she's like, yeah, no, way better.
Does she just like all of them?
No, she has some choice words about the one.
About which?
The one 2 years ago. That reason I don't drink anymore.
Oh, that one. Did she not like her after the thing happened or before?
She was indifferent before, and then obviously
that put the icing on the cake. Tipped her on that side of the fence.
Yeah, and then the last one she liked, but that was just not meant to be because that was just so back to back.
Yeah, you were.
And she served her purpose in the relationship, so that's why that one ended.
Interesting.
So Arden, I know we spoke. This was probably years ago when you and your now fiance, congratulations, were having a little bit of a rocky time off break. I know that you had moved. Mm-hmm. You had left Philly, and you thought you were going to go be this digital nomad, which is almost like everybody's dream when they get into online coaching. It's like, let me be this digital nomad and go sail the 7 seas and go across the world and be Miss Independent. And that failed miserably. And then you came back. Okay. So I'm not going to say it failed miserably, but there was just no Wi-Fi where she was at. Yeah. See, I told you, I watch and I pay attention. I have a great memory.
Hard. Yeah. No, I love that.
So tell us a little bit about what caused the issues of the relationship, why you left, and how you were able to mend it. Because it's really difficult when you end a relationship to give it a second try, because it's always like, what's going to be different this time? If it ended for this reason, what's going to be different this time? So tell us a little bit about your mindset on that and why it worked for you and why it could potentially work for other people. I don't always recommend it, but you clearly figured it out. So why and what happened? Tell us about that.
I love this. I would say the overarching factor is immaturity to maturity.
So how old were you guys at the time? I guess that plays a role too.
So we started dating when Matt's a year and a half younger than me. So Matt was 19 and I was like almost 21 when we first started dating. And we were great. We were best friends throughout college. We were, we had very common going out every weekend, drinking, very young things that you would do from the ages of 19 to 25, right? When I was 24, I started my fitness company, and Matt was still in physical therapy school. So he was still living in the no, though it was now he's getting his doctorate, he was still in school, right? So he was doing things with his friends on a Wednesday night. You know, he was going out on the weekends. They were going to Eagles games, and there was nothing wrong with that. Like, of course, like you're 25, 24, 20, 23, right? Do those things. But I was being thrown on very quickly a lot of responsibilities. I was becoming a CEO of a company that I didn't expect to blow up that fast. And so I took that stress and that pressure out on Matt, and I would get angry because he was having this fun life and I had this responsibility at 24, 25
He's out
years
there
old.
having fun without you.
Yeah. And so I started losing myself. I started losing my friendships, and I started obviously losing my relationship. And so the one struggle that I think that really triggered the breakup was I knew I wanted to move out to San Diego. I had been planning on it for, I would say, about 2 years. So, or a year and a half. I had gone out there multiple times to come visit my friend Kelly out here, to visit my mentor. Her name was Kendall at the time. And I knew I wanted to be out here. And Matt was graduating from physical therapy school. And I was like, Matt, we need to go to San Diego. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And the common, I would say, immature relationship pattern between a lot of young people is as you are growing and maturing, right? There's like these paths that you both have. And unfortunately, one of Matt's path was not focused specifically on, I want to go to San Diego. And mine was, I want to go to San Diego. Like, I want to go there, right? And so he would say yes because he loved me and he wanted to, but his actions weren't aligned with that. So he wasn't looking up jobs. He wasn't trying to get the job. He wasn't saying, hey, let's book a flight and go out there. And then unfortunately, there was like a lot of traumatic events that happened in his family, and it just didn't make sense for him to go. So I knew, okay, we've been together for 5.5 years. I don't want to stay in Philadelphia. I knew that. We were in Philly together. I said, I cannot live the life that I might potentially one day wake up at 80 years old and be like, I wish I went to San Diego at 25, right? And what's really cool is I'm here now and it's all paid off. I'm here with Matt. Actually, we're living in San Diego. So you'll see the full circle, and it's like, it's so good that I did that. So this obviously caused like a lot of tension on our relationship because I thought that Matt was going to come to San Diego. I really did. But then by the time it was going to happen, he committed to a job in Philadelphia. So we obviously had a lot of fighting around that, a lot of, I was very like, well, you said this, but you don't do that. You're saying things, but you weren't following through. And of course, that's a pattern of a very immature young man who is just graduating from college and doesn't, right? Doesn't have like that, like ability to embody the things that he says he's going to do, right? That comes with developing, I think, a frontal lobe and becoming a
it takes time.
It happens at like 27, 28 is what I've noticed.
Take some time.
Sometimes 29.
You gotta be patient with us, man.
Sometimes 35.
35. I don't know.
She said 45.
I mean, yes. I mean,
sometimes never.
Some of the guys, some of the guys we see at the club. You're right. Yeah. But yeah, no. For me, it definitely was like, I'm 31 now, so it was definitely like 29, 30. To like actually like, all right, yo, do it.
Yep.
Set it, do it. Stop going with the flow so much. But that also like came based on like how I was raised, and in my early career of doing insurance, of quote unquote working so hard and not ever getting a result. So then I'm like, I already worked so hard and it didn't work out. So why would I ever do that again? So then I had to reprogram my brain again to be like, no. You work effectively, it'll work out, but you can't just wait for things to happen.
It's the wrong vehicle.
Yeah,
exactly.
So.
And Matt's 27 now, and he's full blown,
it
really like he's leveled up like 7 levels. You know what I mean?
It takes time. Definitely takes time.
And that was my issue. I wasn't willing, and this is the hard part I think about growing with someone for 9 years is I wasn't willing to wait for him to grow up. Like I wasn't willing to work through the times that were hard. And this was my fault, right? Like I was like, I don't want to miss out on life. I want to blah, blah, blah. Right. So I moved out to San Diego thinking I'm going to be like this bomb girl, which I was. I was pretty bomb. Like I was a bomb CEO running my fitness company. I started business coaching. And things were really good. I loved living in San Diego. It's actually, I'm so glad I moved out. And honestly, the whole time Matt and I were talking, like I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks that we just weren't talking, but almost the whole time we were talking, and we were having conversations that needed to be had that were never had when we were together. And that was, I think, the peak of maturity for both of us of like, okay, what do we want? How are we going to move forward? And so during that time, I learned a lot about Matt. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I needed to be better at as a girlfriend and fiance now.
What were those things?
Oh, yelling. You said you get yelling. My whole family raised yellers. I really don't yell anymore, which is really cool.
Yeah, don't yell at your man.
I know.
One of the main things men really appreciate in a relationship is just feeling respected.
And the way that I even approach him.
That's one of the biggest things that we need. If we feel respected, we're going to be cool. But if you're yelling at us, we don't feel respected. We just, as long as we feel respected, you are going to have a loving man. If you disrespect him, it is going to start to create a little bit of animosity, and he's going to be like, nah, I don't know about this so much. So
and I would say that was huge. There was like, it's not that there was no respect, but there was definitely moments
how he could perceive your yelling.
There was moments of no respect. There were times that it was like, why didn't you follow through in this? Right? Like it was literally like it was the things that he weren't doing led to me acting this way, vice versa.
So you guys created like the mother-child relationship for a little bit?
Yep, exactly. Like, and I was very like, I can save him, I can fix him. And I was very like in that. And he was very like, yeah, right. Like, so that was really hard, but I had to learn, I know for myself. So I had to learn how to express to him better in a more, hey, ball's in your court and logical consequence if it doesn't work out for you, but like it's gonna work out. Like, does that make sense? So I started expressing a little bit more of like I call it in more of a feminine way, right? In moments that I'm stressed, I still really struggle with not like speaking down to him sometimes, right? So that's something we're still working on.
Always a work in progress.
Yeah, and that's like I think the thing that I've learned with relationships, especially being with someone for a long time. We've done a lot of counseling, like a lot since we got back together.
Together or separately?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I've learned that there's always going to be 40% of fights the same type of fight. So if you know the root cause and you can have compassion for each other, the fight can then be diffused or can be handled better. And every single time we know it's the same exact thing. It's like I get stressed about like probably like stupid stuff like finances or whatever, or he's not holding up his end of the stick, right? So then I feel a lot of pressure to do more, and like it puts me in my masculine. Those are usually our little like patterns.
How the fights happen,
yeah. And so when we can catch that and be like, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that we feel better? It definitely works a lot better. So we catch it.
What made you want to go at it the second time? Was it like counseling? Was it like, hey, we'll go to therapy and learn each other, and then we're going to give this thing a second go around, and it's like, hey, let's go do it? Or were you already like made up in your mind, like, oh yeah, I'm going to give him another chance because he kept this constant communication with me. He's showing me that he's growing as an individual. Or was it like something else? What made you want to be like, oh yeah, second chance right now, let's do it? Because then wasn't you guys were off for a couple years or a year, or how long was it? I
Like
don't really...
not even 6 months.
Okay, so it wasn't even that long.
It was like
Okay.
maybe 4 months. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were like kind of like I
Mhm.
was definitely starting to feel a little bit out of it in towards like the beginning of 2022, but we officially broke up when I moved out to San Diego in June.
Right.
Okay.
And then within like a couple months, and you're like, hey, let's try this again. I can see he's actually trying. Okay. And then when did the idea of therapy and counseling get introduced?
So, okay. So while we were broken up, I had a relationship coach. I hired my own relationship coach. And she shared with me a lot of the things that I just shared with you. Hey, Arden, you're too masculine. You need to take a step down. You're trying to fix him. He'll just step up as he gets older and matures. And she shared with me that I could absolutely find a man that is going to be this guy that follows through in what he says he's going to do and has all these traits that Matt doesn't have right now. But then there's going to be other boxes he's not going to check that Matt checks.
Always. Yep.
Right. And one thing that I had that like, I don't know. I guess I had this like, oh, he needs to check all the boxes. And I think a lot of girls have that mindset of like, I need to find a man that checks every single box. And they have these very high standards for a man. Right. I learned that is not ever something that will happen. They don't all. Sorry, you guys. I love you guys. I love them.
No,
but
we'll
don't
never
like
check somebody's.
But neither do we.
Yeah.
Like,
No, absolutely not.
Like,
No,
neither
but
do we.
then there's a thing called love, and
it.
then you compromise. There's a thing called love, and you compromise. So
And
love
so
and respect.
that was something that I needed to learn was, okay, he doesn't check every single box, but even if I find someone else, they're not going to check every single box, right? And so I started weighing the pros and cons of, okay, I can start a new relationship, or I could be with this guy who is my best friend, who has treated me so well, who, you know, there was no, it's not like he was hurting me, abusing me, right? Like it was never a bad relationship in that way. And he just wanted what was best for me all the time. And he always supported me. He always believed in me. He was like my number one cheerleader, right? So
I think that part is really important in relationships.
Yeah. And so I was like leaving that.
Other, being super supportive, being your number one cheerleader, even if that's right up close next to you or from afar. If you being in San Diego and him in Philadelphia and he's still doing that, like that's a great sign of somebody who really truly cares about you 100%.
Exactly. And so it was like, you know, he was my best friend since we were little. And like, I had a really good friend who was in San Diego that had been with her boyfriend for 7 or 8 years at that point. So a couple years longer than me and Matt. And she was like, yeah, you're going to have moments like that, but you decided not to grow together. And I just remember her saying that. And I was like, I decided not to grow together. And I was like, but, and she was like, you're going to have those moments every several years. She was like, you know, we hit it at year 7. And then a therapist had once told me, like, it'll hit year 7, year 15, year 26, year 40, whatever. He like listed off how many years you're going to both have a growth. And she was like, you chose not to go through the growing pains with him, and that's okay, but you're going to have to do it with the next guy.
Right.
And I was like,
there's always going to be some growing pains. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And I was like, oh, so I'm like running away from healing together, right? And so that's when I was like, okay, I'll come back and I'll wait. And I'm glad I did, because yeah, I mean, he grew into the potential that I expected him to, right? I just was not willing to wait back then.
And I'll say on the flip side, based on what you just said, he grew into the potential that you knew he could. But ladies out there listening, do not date potential. Do not date potential. I'm just going to say that right now. A lot of us got a lot of potential, but do not date it.
I think
they had a history, a long-standing history. So she knew the kind of individual he was and what he could be made of. But let me remind you, do not date potential.
Not without action, right? they can have a bright future, but if they're not doing anything to get there, that I think that's what they're so smart, but they're not doing anything on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. That'd be like most people you talk, like if someone says, a lot of people say a lot of good things about me when I'm behind. Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, I talk about you all the time.
They're like Brandon is a great person. He's very charismatic. He does this. And but if I'm not doing anything behind closed doors, if I'm not putting any action together behind closed doors, then all those things that people hear, then they're, and I get a girlfriend, she's just going to be dating the potential of what I could be based on what people are saying around me. You still got to see this person put things into action. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to the potential thing, which you had that.
But I also don't agree. Don't agree because, and I'm going to say this, because we grew together. So like, I think that because of me, I almost pushed him to
100%.
Potential.
The right woman will do that.
And I was about to say,
with the right man. But
I think it's so.
Don't stay too long.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Don't stay too long with the wrong man.
Thinking
the right woman,
especially older, like when you're, in your 30s, people are. And the nice thing about me and Matt is we're both willing to get the support. We're willing to go to therapy. We're willing to have.
And you have to. You have to, because you can't do it all on your own. You definitely can't do it all on your own. You need God. You need therapy. You need it all.
Facts.
Like the girl I'm talking to now, like she is such a hard worker that like she pushes me just because she works so hard. It's like, I don't want you to be better than me. I'm competitive. She's super competitive. So I'm just like, you're working more than me. You're working harder than me. I don't like this. So it's like, hold on. No. So she's pushing me just by working even more. Like she picked up another job like during the week, and then she is a video game streamer too. So she like started doing all of it. I'm like, nah, I need to go. I'm going harder now. Like, hold on. So when you get the right people together, yes, that's how you want to be in that kind of relationship dynamic, to where you guys are pushing each other to be the best versions of yourself possible. And just from like social media, like that's what I see from you guys, and I think is really cool. Especially how you pivoted from, literally I could see like the journey from 5-6 years ago, from teaching to fitness coaching to like literally coaching other coaches and being successful at it. So, and like show, cause you share their results of like how they do before they started working with you. And then they started working with you. Then they get up to like their $10,000 months. They were at like 4,000. Now they're at 10,000. So what you do works. And I think that's because, your support system as well. So I think you're doing great. Keep up the good work. It's inspirational to watch from afar as well.
Oh, thank you.
Any closing thoughts, Mr. Cleon Deal?
Well, I have a question. Arden, of course, with you being a coach now, former teacher, what did you feel like is the most important thing that you took from being a teacher into your coaching journey?
People skills.
And why was that important?
Because I think that a lot of coaches, the number one struggle they have is the ability to not just read the room, but read another person and connect with another person. And I believe that an online service business is built through connections and relationships.
So what boundaries do you set on those relationships with your clients? Because you're talking about connection, huh?
Yeah.
It depends on the person.
So I actually said this to my clients the other day. I said, if I think there's a client that I need to give a phone call and they can have my number, I'll give it. But if there's a client that I don't think should have my phone, I won't give it. And it's not like you're worse or they're different. And I think that was
and
the
you
one
got to
thing
coach people differently. No, that's 100%. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And that was the one thing that I did as a kindergarten teacher is like differentiated. There would be kids that would come in who could write their name. And there were kids who could come in who didn't even know how to hold a pencil. What do you do? Right. And so it's the same thing when it comes to teaching people how to grow a business.
Like that.
I like that too.
What other questions?
What other questions do I have? Okay, great.
Do you have any other one?
No,
I think I asked all the ones that I wanted to.
No, I think we got a good depth on into Arden's story. I mean, I have a bunch of questions about the long distance relationship portion of it, because obviously dating somebody who's still in college at the time while you're in California and they're at Penn State. I can imagine obviously there's a lot of things that go into number one, the trust factor, and then kind of those growing pains that you guys are growing together. I got it, but we could go.
But they knew each other like years and years before that, so the trust was already like technically there.
Yeah, which is fair, but obviously,
and it was never broken.
We had to rebuild trust. It was
did you?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was funny, Cleon, when you said you fell into your relationship, so did me and Matt. We were like, again, kind of like dating for like 2 years, but like we were never girlfriend and boyfriend.
Right. Yeah,
so there was like 2
I don't know how does this happen?
Hey man, I get it.
I'm like, no.
No, you're young, you're in college, you have a roster, you're like, I don't.
But don't you still ask him?
We finally sat down. So summer 2017, we sat down and had the conversation.
2 years though? After 2 years?
See, Brandon can't fathom this because Brandon wants the girl to be his girlfriend after a week and a half. So he can't fathom.
Not after a week.
Like, okay, but we're 30 now, right?
Right.
When I know
you're 19 and 18.
Yeah, that's very.
But still, I don't know. I guess it's because I was raised on rom-coms and I seen what not to do because of how I grew up. And, I didn't meet my dad till I was 20. So I guess I always had like this fairy tale fantasy in my head of what I thought a relationship was going to be. So anytime I was like, hey, this is who I want, it's like, no, that's who I want. That's it.
He was watching Hallmark where they met at the beginning of the movie and were married by the end of it. And he thought that's how it worked in an hour and a half.
That's how it went. But then, 5 relationships later, you realize that's not.
Maybe not.
That's not how this thing works.
All right. So tell us this story. So what happened here?
So Matt kind of sat me down and I moved him into college one weekend.
Okay.
Here's the mom-son relationship dynamic.
No, he asked me. At that point, I was definitely not his mom because I was extremely detached. So we would hang out. So my college was his hometown. So anytime he came home, so winter break, maybe it was like for New Year's, like for he came home in March one time for spring break, summer, whatever. We would always like connect, right? So that's kind of how it was. And then it was finally summer 2017. And he was like, hey, like, you should come. He went to University of Scranton. He was like, you should come to University of Scranton and help me move into my new house. And I was like, okay, sure. So I go. At the end of the weekend, he sits down on his ottoman and he looks at me and he said, hey, so like, I think maybe we should like be together. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And he was like exclusive. And I was like, okay. And he was like, but like no titles. And I was like, okay.
Hold on, wait.
All right, we're young. We can't judge.
I was with you.
So I was like, okay.
I'm glad it started like that, and I'm glad it's worked out afterwards. That's
when I say it's so funny, we have no dating date because we were so like whatever. We liked spending time together, and that's why I think it's so genuine. Like we were just like we consistently we were like connected, right? Like we consistently wanted to spend time with each other. Anytime, he was home, he would be texting me. And it wasn't just about like honestly sleeping together. Like it was like we actually did stuff together. Like we went parasailing. Like we would actually do things, right? So that kind of, I guess, started our relationship. But there was definitely during those 2 years, I mean, we were sleeping with other people. We were even after he asked me to be exclusive, there were many moments that he was not exclusive to me. Right. And so I found out about those. And so I think the one thing that Matt and I, and this is probably why our relationship is so healthy now, is we've already went through, like, if you name it, we've been through it.
Right. Okay.
Any toxic experience, if you name it. And I think that's actually beautiful because it's built. We've had to go through so much of learning how to trust each other again, of learning how to respect each other again, of learning. We've had to rebuild, but it's so strong. Like when I say the trust that I have for him is so strong, the respect that I have for him is so strong. And it would never have been this way if we didn't go through everything.
Yeah, you got to go through storms. That's the only way you're going to get stronger.
How did you find out?
Women always find out. What'd you say? I'm a girl?
No, I know the girls.
The girl.
The girls told you?
Bro, women will find out anything. So that's why I say, like, it's just best to just don't do nothing.
I know.
Be smart, man. Just don't do nothing. Like, women are going to find out what they want to find out because women are queens at doing this. And
if the woman isn't, her friend is.
Exactly.
There's always a crazy friend.
I've always had the crazy friend.
There's so many stories of just women detectives that I know of them finding out stuff with like friends that I've had or girls that I've known through college, finding out about like their fiance or their husband being on dating apps or whatever it may be. I'm like, women are going to find out. Like you can't hide anything. I think God has something to do with it. I think he gives them like this, that puts the Holy Spirit in them and gives them this intuition to go into detective mode and just find everything out. So you can't ever hide it. You can't ever hide your infidelity. You can't hide that kind of stuff because
and
women are going to find out.
Just that, right? Like I did it to spite him. Like it was like a constant, like toxic, like push pull relationship.
Yeah.
And so the breakup was needed. The 4 months apart was needed, right?
100%.
It allowed us to kind of refine ourselves and ask ourselves what we want for our future. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Let me ask this, and this is give the listeners a little bit of words of wisdom. How do you know, because there's many people that get into toxic relationships, how do you know whether to stay or leave? Because as you just shared, like during that time period, like it sounds pretty toxic. Sounds like something that like maybe if I was your friend, I maybe at the time might have advised you to leave it or advised him to leave it and be like, no, just, throw it away, restart, restart somewhere else. How do you know you should try and build instead of leave? Because I'm going to say leave.
The willingness to build from both people and to actually have, okay, this is going to be a business term, but like KPIs, like clocking, like, are we growing? Like noticing, like Matt and
Don't just say it, but actually have tangible results.
Right.
Measure your results.
Exactly. Like me not yelling anymore. Like the last 10 fights you can think of, I haven't yelled. That's
okay. So that's the growth of it. Yeah.
The growth, right? It's like the actual external, like, is this right? So
I guess I'll accept that answer. No, it does make sense. If you got to be willing, and then you have to be able to measure what you say you're going to do as well. You can't just be like, oh yeah, we're going to work on this, but then it's like, oh, we're not doing anything. Then you just repeat that toxic cycle, and that's not what we want to do. We want nice, strong, healthy, trusting relationships, because in this day and age, it's hard to have those. It's hard to find those. So
one thing Matt and I do every week is we sit down we call it Wedding Wednesday since we're planning our wedding. So every Wednesday we actually go out to dinner and we talk about, hey, what went well this week? What didn't go well? What are we going to do next week? Those are our 3 questions. We do it every Wednesday.
And I think that's really great if you can plan the week with your significant other as well. I think that comes with time into a relationship. Obviously, you guys have been together for a very long time, but I think that is something, maybe not in a newer relationship that you should do, but after a while, that's something that you should look to do, because you do want to be able to grow and build with your partner. And that's what you guys are there for. You want to build up your partner, support them, motivate them, inspire them, and vice versa. So definitely agree with you on that. Any other final thoughts for you guys?
Final thoughts. Well, real quick, actually, I have one more question before we get to that. Your communication differences. You talked about how you would yell when you got angry at times. How did he communicate with you? Was that a mutual thing from the both of you, or was that completely different? Or did you guys have other communication issues as well?
I would yell and he would shut down.
Okay.
We would just take it.
My kind of guy.
It's twin flame.
You just get yelled at. You just, yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Right,
he would
so
just take it.
Mhm.
So
You're
now
right.
it's more conversational, obviously, and
Yeah.
yeah. And then I would say, like,
guys don't like being disrespected. That's why it's like we will, unless you got a hot-headed one, he'll yell right back and fight. But otherwise, we feel disrespected. It's just, you're right, and we just take it, and we just, this isn't for me. I gotta get out of here. In my head, I gotta get out of here. Why is she disrespecting me?
well, Matt always said he just stuck with me because I'm hot. So
at least that works.
You know, honesty in a relationship is very important.
Honesty is very important. Honesty is very important. Thank God for those in classroom workouts.
right.
That's amazing.
All those glute days in the classroom.
Yeah, literally. All right. Anything else we got, guys?
No, so I'm good. So number one, so thank you so much for joining us today, Arden. Appreciate you being here. Let's clap it up. You
got any other final thoughts or questions for us, Arden? Or any words of wisdom you want to leave to the people who are going to be listening?
Yeah, I mean, I think that your business or your online coaching company or whatever you do in life, it will always reflect in your relationship, vice versa. Your relationship and the struggles you have in your relationship will reflect in your company. And so being able to clock and recognize all of those patternings that you're seeing is going to be key, because my company is now the most successful it's ever been, while also my relationship is the most successful it's ever been. And that speaks volumes to who I'm becoming and how I'm growing as a person. And so your partner does matter, and
100%.
They will show you everything you need to know about growing your business.
So make sure you pick the right partner. Make sure your relationship is healthy, in that you're fighting to keep it healthy. And that's going to help you prosper in your business.
Right. Yeah. And that's because what happens there is going to reflect here, and vice versa. I like that a lot, because that's actually Brandon with this podcast. Brandon picks topics based on what he's going through in life right now. All the time. And so
easier to talk about.
So that lets me know that as soon as our relationships are extremely successful, this is going to blow up. I'm so excited for that.
So excited for you guys. Let's go.
It is, man. Yeah, just go listen to like Rent Free, Skeletons, what was it? 100 Men versus one gorilla. Those are just whatever I'm feeling that day. And I'm a very emotional kind of person. I blame it on my mother, who needs to be on this podcast for this month too.
Get mom here, man.
Maybe next week. I'll call her.
Yeah. Cool.
But we'll pivot to however I'm feeling. Like, let's talk about this feeling on the podcast, and let's just deep dive into it and how it affects relationships. And that's what we like to do. So, but other than that, we appreciate your time today, and
thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I would say we'll see you next week, which we technically will see you next week, but we'll also see you tomorrow for our regular time and regular live every Saturday at 7 o'clock. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Recording stuff.